Hello, my dear listeners. Today we're going to talk about cookies. Just the thought of it probably makes you feel good, right? But that's not the kind of cookies I'm talking about. I'm talking about the cookies, those little text files that get deposited on your computer and your mobile device when you're browsing the internet. These are little text files that get saved in your device so that the website that you're visiting knows a lot about you or can collect data about you and also give that data over to advertisers so that they can better target their ads and things like that. So there is a push towards becoming cookieless in the next few years. There was supposed to be a target date of 2023, the second half of 2023 for Google Chrome at least. That date has been pushed back for obvious reasons. As you listen to this episode, you'll kind of know why. It's a tough thing to do to go cookieless. So today we're going to talk about what is cookieless tracking, how it works, or at least how it's supposed to work, or how they're trying to make it work, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and what impact it'll have on marketing data, because cookies actually serve a very powerful purpose. There's a reason why they exist, and marketers have come to rely on the data that cookies provide in order to target our ads, reach the right people, and also make sure that your marketing budget is as efficient as possible, because you don't want to waste your marketing budget on people that are not your customers or the people that you're targeting. So cookies has helped us over the years to become very efficient in our marketing and track ROI and things like that. So going cookieless is going to have a major impact on the marketing data that is available and your ability to target your advertising. So let's get started talking cookies and a brave new cookieless world that we're about to enter. Welcome to the latest episode of Corner Your Market. I'm your host, Silas Kinide. In this podcast, I talk about all things digital marketing, from website design and development to SEO and PPC, as well as paid advertising, email marketing, social media, and anything in between. If you're a small business owner, a marketing manager in a company, or an entrepreneur, this podcast is for you. So tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll gain some practical insights, new strategies, tactics, and tools that will help you grow your business. To subscribe, go to corneryourmarketpodcast.com and select the podcast app of your choice. Then you can hit subscribe within those apps. That again is corneryourmarketpodcast.com. Also, don't forget to like and share our individual episodes. You can also leave a review in the app once you've listened to one of our episodes. In this episode, I'm going to talk about cookies. And the reason why I wanted to talk about cookies is because there's been a lot of chatter over the last few years about cookieless tracking, cookieless browsing, and all that kind of stuff. In fact, Google had basically said that Chrome was going to go cookieless by the end of 2023, or at least the second half of 2023, and we're in the second half of 2023, or at least approaching the last quarter. And they just pushed the date back to 2024. That date's been moved a few times already, so it kind of shows you how difficult it is going to be to go into a cookieless world. And before we get into the cookieless world and what it means and all that kind of stuff for the user as well as for the marketer, I thought it'd be good to kind of do a little bit of a backstory on cookies, what cookies are, what is cookieless browsing, and all that kind of stuff. So in this episode, what I want to do is I want to talk about cookies. Most specifically, I wanted to address the topic of cookieless tracking. What is cookieless tracking? How it works? Is it good or bad? And what impact would it have on marketing data? But as I was putting all these materials together to talk about those questions, I thought, you know what, let's talk about cookies first, because we all love cookies, right? Cookies are awesome. It's actually one of if Superman has kryptonite, cookies is to me what kryptonite is to Superman. So anyway, yeah, I like cookies. But anyway, so in terms of web browsing, cookies are small little text files that are stored on a user's computer when they visit a website. So every time you visit a website, a little text file gets deposited into your website. And those are cookies. Those are cookie files. There's a whole directory of cookies. If you go into Windows, I don't know much about Macs. I've been a PC guy since 1994. Never got into Mac, so I don't know where you'd go to get it in a Mac. But I know in Windows, at least I haven't searched it in a while, but there used to be a folder called Cookies. There might still be it. I haven't really been tracking the back end of Windows recently, but I'm sure you could find it. But anyway, what are those text files? Those are little text files that contains information about you, your browsing, and all that kind of stuff that helps the website keep track of you. So anyway, so that's what a cookie is. I thought it'd be fun to kind of talk about, where does the term cookies come from? Well, when it comes to web browsing, the term cookie was coined by Louis Montulli, an engineer at Netscape Communications Corporation. I don't know if you guys ever used the Netscape browser, but that was the second browser I used. Started using Mosaic or Gopher back in the early to mid 90s in the computer science lab. And then Netscape came out shortly thereafter, around there in the 1993-94 timeframe. And so basically this engineer, he loved fortune cookies. And while working on the development of Netscape's browser, he needed a way to store small pieces of data on a user's computer to enable various functionalities on websites. So, because technically a browser is viewing something on somebody else's server, right? But there are certain things that the browser needs to be able to do, and it's more efficient if there's a small file on your computer that it can access and personalize and all that kind of stuff. So the idea of a cookie, and I think I gave it away because I already mentioned fortune cookie, but he loved fortune cookies, and when you open a fortune cookie, there's a little message in there. So that's kind of the idea of the cookies. So it comes from fortune cookies. You can thank Louis. Anyway, you can look it up, read up a little bit more about it on Wikipedia or something like that. But that's the story of the cookies. Now, there's two types of cookies. There's the first-party cookie, which is the cookie that the browser or the site that you're on, when that site itself drops a cookie into your computer, that is a first-party cookie. Third-party cookie is you're on a website, you're looking at different things, there's ads on the website, and then those advertising folks will drop cookies on your website as well, on your computer as well. That's a third-party cookie. And those cookies usually track user behavior across multiple websites. That's where they can do retargeting. They can collect information about your interests. What other browsers have you gone to? What other websites do you go to? What kind of stuff do you on that? And all that stuff gets sent back to the advertiser. The first-party cookie that I mentioned earlier, it just kind of tracks basic stuff that the website wants to know, like how long have you been visiting, how long did you stay, what things did you click on, all that kind of stuff. So there's first-party cookies and third-party cookies, right? And you being the second party. I don't know where the term third-party comes from, but it comes from somewhere. I don't know why they don't call it second party, because I think you're the second party. The first party, anyway, that's a sidetrack. Anyway, mobile devices also use cookies, in case you're wondering. Mobile devices use cookies in the same way that desktop computers do. When you visit a website or app on your mobile device, notice I said app. Apps also use cookies. The website or app server sends a cookie to your device. The cookie then is stored on your device. And over the years, these browsers and operating systems have become very, very sophisticated at hiding what's in there, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's what cookies are. Now, there's a main benefit of why cookies are used. I think I alluded to that already. Cookies can be used to track users for a variety of purposes, right? There's the first benefit, or at least views as a benefit, is personalizations. Cookies can be used to personalize a user's experience on a website. For example, a website can use cookies to remember a user's preference, such as their language or the size of their text, things like that. That's just at the basic level. There's also advertising. Cookies can be used to track users across websites and apps and show them relevant ads. This is how targeted advertising works. So if you want to target your ads towards people in a certain geography, certain age group, certain interest, that it's all comes from cookies. And then cookies also used for analytics, right? They're used to track user behavior on a website, collect information about their visit sessions, what they did, where they clicked, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what cookies are for. So hopefully that gives you an understanding of what cookies are. Cookies are a little bit controversial, to be honest with you. There's some privacy issues that comes up. A lot of people will block cookies using browser extensions, and there's a lot of them out there. You can do a quick search on Google Chrome for like on the Chrome extensions. If you're using Chrome, there's Firefox extensions. I don't know if there's Edge extensions, but I'm sure there's Edge extensions. Edge is Microsoft's latest browser, in case you're wondering what Edge is. I use Edge. Yeah, I'm one of those people. So yeah, I don't know why I use Edge, but I use Edge from time to time. Not all the time, but a lot of times I use Edge. Anyway, so yeah, you can also change your browser settings to block cookies. It's kind of hard to get to. You got to go through privacy and security settings and make sure you're clicking the right thing. You can also opt out of tracking. I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit, but some websites will allow you to opt out of tracking. That means that the website will not track your browser behavior. There are some drawbacks to blocking cookies. You may not be able to personalize your experience. You may not be able to see relevant ads. Not that we're craving for ads, but you don't want to see ads that maybe don't align with who you are either, right? So, and then blocking cookies can help you protect your privacy. That's really the main reason why people do it. Now, if you're like me, you've probably been on websites where these annoying pop-ups show up saying accept or reject cookies, and you can thank the European Union for that. I find that highly annoying. I find that more annoying than the actual cookies, because cookies I don't see, I don't have to deal with it, but that little thing that pops up every site or every couple of sites I go to is just annoying. But that is what we call, or what is known as GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation passed by the EU on data protection and privacy for all individuals within the European Union and the European Economic Area. So regardless of the website's origin, if people from Europe can access that website, or there's some requirements, I don't want to get into it here, but if they access that, then they need to make the Europeans aware that cookies, you have the option of opting out of cookies. So, yay, I guess. I'm not a huge fan of the EU, as you could probably tell. Their laws and regulations are just, in my opinion, ridiculous. But, hey, that's up to them, right? But it's just that it impacts us outside of the EU as well. But that's why you have those little annoying pop-ups that show up. There's a plugin on WordPress that you can install that allows you to do that. So that's the GDPR. Now, I talked a little bit about how you can yourself reject it, right? So, okay. So now, given the importance of, and now that you understand how cookies work, the move towards cookieless tracking is interesting. There's not a consensus on how they're going to do cookieless tracking. There's a lot of ways that they're thinking about doing it, and that's probably why these dates get being pushed back, because cookieless tracking is hard. It's very difficult. So some of the ones that I've seen on the internet people talk about is device fingerprinting. I don't know how this is even more, secure or less private, but device fingerprinting sounds more invasive to me. At least the term does. I don't know how it is in terms of the actual execution, but device fingerprinting is a technique that identifies devices by their unique characteristics, such as their IP address, browser fingerprint, and operating system. This information can then be used to track users across websites and apps. IP address tracking is a second one that people use. Your IP address, but there's so many people at the same IP, so I'm not exactly sure how this is going to be effective. And then also VPNs, people use VPNs. I know it slows down the experience, but with increased bandwidth, I think VPNs are becoming an alternative. So I know that when I've traveled internationally and I've tried to access certain sites on the U.S. side, I've been blocked because my IP is coming from a country that they don't like, and so that's when I use VPNs to kind of bounce off of Holland or bounce off of the U.S. or Tokyo, and those are usually more trusted IP sources, at least for websites in the U.S. So that's always been useful, but the problem with VPNs is it does slow down your connections, and you might not be able to do certain things like watch YouTube videos and things like that. But I think over time this is going to get overcome. They're going to overcome that as well. So I don't know how. They're probably going to need to use a combination of IP addresses. And look, there's a lot of smart people working on this, so I'm sure they'll figure it out. The other way that they're thinking about using executing cookieless tracking is web beacons. Web beacons are small, invisible images that are embedded on a website. So I don't know how this is different than cookies, but so when a user visits a website or app that contains a web beacon, the web beacon sends a signal back to the website or app. This signal can be used to track users across websites and apps. Not exactly sure about the details of this one, but hey, that's one other idea. The other one is the acronym for it is FLOC, Federated Learning of Cohorts. Very complex sounding name. FLOC is a privacy-preserving technique that allows websites to group users together based on their interests. This information can then be used to show users relevant ads without having to track them individually. So, cookieless tracking is challenging. That's why Louis created cookies in the beginning, right? So, not sure exactly how it's going to work. There's really not a consensus. It's a developing field. There's no single way in which everybody's agreed on how they're going to do it. The effectiveness is still in question. The viability of it is still in question, depending on the technology. And so we're still a few years away in terms of arriving at a cookieless tracking world. But in terms of, is cookieless tracking good or bad, right? That's also a question that needs to be asked. They're wanting to make cookieless tracking because they want to, preserve privacy compared to a traditional cookie-based tracking. Because they want to avoid the use of personal data such as names, email addresses, or phone numbers. It's more effective at tracking users across devices and platforms. At least cookieless tracking is trying to be that, because cookieless tracking techniques are going to be developed to identify users based on their device fingerprints or IP addresses. So it's supposed to be a little bit more accurate, because if you're on a mobile device and you bounce around on different IP addresses, if you're using cellular connection, that's I'm sure that kind of messes up with your tracking and stuff like that. And also from a technology standpoint, at least from what the research I've done, it does seem to be more scalable than traditional cookie-based tracking, because it doesn't rely on a single third-party vendor. However, the disadvantages of cookieless tracking, at least the way the technology sits as of today, or at least as of in the immediate future, is it's actually less accurate than traditional cookie-based tracking. Because look, I hate it or love it, cookies are very accurate. I mean, accurate as can be, because that little cookie is sitting on your computer or on your mobile device, and it's a little spy, a little mole that's just watching you do everything, right? So pretty accurate data, I would think. But anyway, also cookieless traveling has a potential to be more expensive, because there's going to have to be software that's going to have to be installed at server levels. ISPs are going to need to be able to agree to some of these things. ISPs are internet service providers, the guys that give you your internet, things like that. So, and adoption is also an issue. Now, I understand that if Google Chrome goes cookieless, that's 65% of the browser market. That's a pretty big, boom right there. But, and I know Safari is about 19% or 20%. So if those two go, if those two adopt it, then you're already looking at 80%. 85% of the browser market. So it's going to get widely adopted if those two big boys kind of say this is what we're doing. But still, there could be holdouts. There could be people not doing it, and that could mess things up. So adoption is going to be a problem. Overall, cookieless tracking is a promising new technology that has the potential to improve the privacy of users while still allowing businesses to track their customers. However, from everything I'm reading, there's still a lot of challenges that needs to be addressed. And I think we're still a few years away from cookieless tracking. Now, here's from a marketing standpoint, there's a big impact on marketing for this, right? Because we marketers rely on those little cookies, those little pixels, those little tracking things, sending us data, sending us all the interests and the hobbies and the tracking and the sites that you go to and all that kind of stuff, and helps us target and minimize our cost and things like that. So we rely on cookies quite a bit. And from everything that I am reading, at least right now, and probably into the mid 20s, so we're looking at 23 right now, 26, 27 even, I don't know how accurate this data is going to be. I think marketing data is going to get worse when you go to cookieless tracking. That means there's going to be a lot of waste in marketing budgets. There's probably going to be, in so many ways, we have kind of, in the marketing realm, at least digital marketing, we have really sold this idea of tracking and targeting and analytics. And I think once that data becomes less reliable and less accurate, I think we're going to have some challenges in terms of the expectations that we've already set our clients and set our budgets around. So we're going to have to figure out a way to, improve that and things like that. But so less accurate targeting, less accurate data is something that is going to be an issue and of concern to marketers with cookieless tracking. So we're going to have to rely more on contextual targeting, right? So learning more about the site. Because in a way, the website already gives information. If they've got good SEO, metadata on the site should be able to tell you what that site is about or what that page is about. So perhaps there's this possibility that cookieless tracking means we're going to have to be better at SEO. So whatever we publish with enough information about the content that these cookieless, whatever they're going to be called, they can read that and basically serve ads based on the context of what's being provided. So instead of individual data, it's more at the higher level. So what I mean by that is if I'm reading an article on, let's say, a lake cabin, and the lake cabin article writer has done a good job optimizing, then the advertiser should know that it's about lake cabins. And so the ad should be about kayaks and hiking and, the local attractions and things like that. So maybe we'll have to get really better at contextual targeting. And then there's also going to be more of a focus on first party data, the data that website is actually providing in terms of maybe visitors, number of hits and all that kind of stuff. So you may see a situation where the website needs to share that information with the browser so that the browser can then relay it back to the advertiser. So the advertiser knows, okay, this site talks a lot about, cabins and things like that, but it only gets 50 visitors. So if I need to serve, 5,000 impressions, I need to serve it for X amount of time and things like that. So anyway, the move to cookieless tracking is not going to be easy. I think it's going to be time consuming. There's going to be some hiccups along the way, and that's probably the reason why these guys are pushing the date further and further out. This conversation's been happening since 2019. There was some ambitious people that said they wanted to get this done by 2021. We're 2 years past that, and this date just got pushed to 2024. So we are a ways away from cookieless tracking. Maybe we need to call it something else. Maybe I can throw in some ideas later on what this kind of tracking should be called. But cookieless tracking just seems like a mouthful. I mean, I've been saying that quite a few times in the last, 20, 30 minutes, and I'm already getting tired of saying it. And also, it doesn't look good when you type it. Cookieless, this doesn't seem very, very much like a word. I mean, it seems like a made-up word. But anyway, so there you have it. We talked about cookies. We talked about browser cookies, the origin of the term, what it does, why it's there, the reason for its existence, why cookies kind of can be seen as a potential for invading your privacy and maybe taking over, some of the stuff that you don't want people to know, or know about things that people don't want you to want to know about. So we talked about that. We talked about what cookieless tracking is, how it could be done, different ways that people are trying to figure this out. We talked about whether cookieless tracking is a good thing or a bad thing. And we also talked about cookieless tracking and the impact that it will have on marketing data moving forward. So hope that gives you a really good idea about cookies and cookieless tracking. And then when you start hearing those terms in the future, you'll know what that is all about. So with that, we're going to wrap up today. I'm going to ask you to go and grab a cookie and have a cookie so that you can think about this podcast and share this podcast with others. So happy cookie eating today. Thanks for joining.
If you're a small business owner, a marketing manager at a company, or an entrepreneur, please tune in weekly. You'll gain some insights, tips, and tricks, and be a bit more enlightened when it comes to digital marketing. I promise you, if you implement the strategies, tactics, and tools I discuss in this podcast, your business will definitely grow. Please subscribe to this podcast. You can do so by going to corneryourmarketpodcast.com and subscribe with the listening platform of your choice. That URL again is corneryourmarketpodcast.com. Don't forget to like and share this episode with your friends and colleagues. Also, don't forget to leave a review. Those mean a lot to me and can help others that would benefit from the information I share. Finally, I would love to hear from you. I love getting listener emails. So if you have questions, feedback, or any general comment about the topics I discuss on this podcast, feel free to send me an email. I will be sure to share and discuss your feedback on the air if it will benefit our listening audience. You can write to me at connect@corneryourmarketpodcast.com. Just put listener comment in the subject line. That email again is connect@corneryourmarketpodcast.com. And again, please put listener comment in the subject line. Thanks for listening today. I look forward to being back next week. Until then, be good and do good.